this is a pointer to a problem. We have established institutions and maybe gone forth. The challenge is to find the right persons to reorientate institutional energies in combating graft. But we should not talk of corruption as if it's our next door neighbor. It requires each of us to play our significant role as vanguards of public interest. Ladies and gentlemen, as accountants, we may not have done so badly, but I know we have much more room to improve. I hope that we have hit home from the 33rd annual seminar, which will carry with us greater resolve to fight and combat graft. Notwithstanding, allow me to note that the Institute is working very closely with key stakeholders to review the Accountants Act. And this is one way of providing an opportunity to the Institute to make sure that some of the gaps which we have highlighted in terms of disciplinary are going to be enhanced through the review of the Accountants Act. The review has been occasioned by market dynamism of the accountancy profession, and additionally, several developments have taken place, both locally and internationally. This is a positive development for the regulation of the accountancy profession in Kenya. I note that the proposed amendments prescribes the relevant qualifications of accountants and also provides for disciplinary action against accountants found guilty of misconduct and corrupt practices. It is my sincere hope that the enactment of the Accountants Amendment Bill will deter potential offenders and will also ensure that the accountants found guilty of malpractices receive appropriate punishment. We are called upon to adhere to strict and uncompromising ethical standards, adopt a broad institutional and corporate perspective at our workplace, advise on policy and operational issues, and also play custodial and trusteeship roles that demand more moral courage. We also challenged to be world-class technical experts in financial analysis and to communicate our findings and the implications. We also challenged to keep abreast with changes in our profession, such as international accounting standards, reporting standards, and advise on principles in the timely manner. The benchmarks for excellence in all these areas are set by international technical standards, education standards, and evolving best practices. All the professions, ours is no stranger to the need for lifelong learning as we update our professional skills. We are more keenly aware that most of yesterday's expertise and knowledge is today's ignorance. Going forward, we are called upon to get more involved in cross-cutting issues of good governance and economic development. As you are aware, we are headed to the general election. I urge members of the public and politicians to maintain peace during the electioneering period. ICPAK is hopeful that the next parliament, county governments, and county assemblies will have critical mass of professionals who will bequeath the much-needed value systems as well as credibility to these important democratic institutions. It's high time that elected leaders and officials deal decisively and conclusively with matters that have continued to dog and obligate our national office and collective conscience. As I conclude, members, it is important to underscore the importance of the need to redouble our efforts in strengthening the existing governance infrastructure and readdressing the inadequacies. History may not be allowed to repeat itself insofar as the ravages of the financial and economic crisis are concerned. Needless to add, the accounting profession has a lot to offer in this endeavor. Indeed, government, entities, and corporate world needs accounting skills more and more each passing day. I have no doubt that you will share views on how to become agents of transformation. At national and international level, each one of you is called upon to meet high standards of technical competence. Allow me to thank the convener of member services, CPROs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Assalamu alaikum. First and foremost, I want to appreciate this invitation once again. There's always something about personal relationships. When somebody calls you and tells you, we want you to attend to our function, and sometimes you know them very personally, it's very difficult to tell them no. 90% of what I do in life, I've realized, is mostly about personal relationships, more than even the official relationships. You know, official people, you leave them there. Friends go with you, and wherever you go. Secondly, I want to appreciate the chairman, FCPA Fernandez Barasa, representatives from the various regional organizations. I easily picked that name, Kombozi. I hope it means the same thing in Rwanda, because I think we also, there is a way in which, you know, here in Kenya we are a bit ethnic. In Rwanda and Uganda, they look at the larger clusters. They will tell you these are Bantus, and these are Kushites, and these are Nilotes. I see that quite a bit in some of your countries. In Kenya, we are more conscious of the basic unit. Council, I remember 2 years ago when I was here, ICPAK has kept strength and faith in Mombasa County because the British government had issued travel advisories all over. But we are not issuing any travel advisories to Manchester. Because I think it literally dilapidated, decimated the Kenyan economy when it comes to the arena of tourism. And yet some of these global challenges are partly ourselves, but also partly based on the fact that we are an integral member of the global family. So as we hold vigil, we also must remember that terrorists strike anywhere. They strike Paris, they strike Manchester. The smaller nations suffer the bigger brunt because by now so many terror warnings will have been published against this poor state called Kenya. And the flights will have subsided substantially, the private charters and tourism. So what you need to do when you go there is to tell them that I met a group of nation, of people so resilient. So as we face these global challenges together, we need to ensure that we also support one another. I think sometimes I think it's really in bad faith that I saw somebody, 1 or 2 or 3 governments warn their citizens about travel to Kenya on the basis of an election. We expected more violence with Trump, so yet we did warn our citizens to go there. So I think smaller nations should be more resilient to such kinds of global dynamics. But we still hold, I think nobody is, for whatever considerations, is given the mandate or right to take away the life of another for whatever reason or justification, be it religion, be it ideological, be it fanatical. We've had our own share of violence here, potentially ethnic, and I think it's a moral law when any country does that, or any citizens do that. So as the chairman warned that we are facing an election period, in fact I was also told ICPAK was having an election season. That's why the security was beefed up. Because some of you here, outside being accountants, are your village heroes. So you could come and demonstrate that you are too, gender activist, or you are too pro-Julius. So I'm told there's a man and a woman who are running. So mara kidogo tusikie violence erupts in White Sands Hotel, camp na hii. So that's why you saw some of you were dusted. And the suspects, the more you were dusted, realized that you had been spotted as a suspect. There was a day I was entering with a friend somewhere, and he was alipekuliwa zaidi ya wengine. He was checked more and everything flickered more, and he really was upset about it. So all of us came and we passed. Akasema wana ubaguzi hawa. I told him I don't think so. I told you you look like a suspect. And it is not a subjective view. So sometimes when you see these security guys asking you a little more questions, go look yourself in the mirror. There is something you are doing wrong. Wenzako wote wamepita, wewe ndio umechekewa zaidi. You think it's a joke? Maybe it's the shirt you put on, it's the hairstyle you have. Oh, that guy has suffered to somebody who looks like you, and he thinks the cousin has presented himself right at my mercy, you know. So these are some of the issues. So I've never taken it badly when you are checked much more. Some of you came by air. If you want to know first-time travelers, you see they have carried more than 100 ml in their carry-on baggage. You see her in shock, or him in shock as he's losing his big, cheap lotion, because anaambiwa iwezi pita nayo hapa. That's how I know first-time traveler. Wanapiga kelele, can I go and check it in? Bag imeenda, utacheck vipi in? Hii hapa na bus. Yeah. Yeah. So these are some of the things. Yeah, but those some of you who are used to Mombasa airport, but we are going to have the train very soon. Standard gauge railway, through the standard gauge. I've seen it's only these people who are working in government who are taking these test rides. Have you seen them posting and spiting us on the social media? I took 5 hours. Mimi nikiandika I took 45 minutes na ndege. What will you feel? Yeah. So you see them, but it looks like a good bargain in terms of at least transfer of goods and services with respect to the efficiency. So I'm told the standard gauge will be coming. So it will be cheaper for you to continue holding your seminars here. I see them doing a comparative, sijui modern cost, bus car, sijui march cost bus, 1,500, cost air, sijui 2,000, and then they put standard gauge 800. So they are telling you that you now, and then this one takes 12 hours, and this one will take 5 hours. So it's giving you a better deal. So I'm happy that you've continued to hold your seminars here, and we are going to make it easier. Kwa hivyo tuko na imani tukifika tutakuwa tumepata mtu na msijali mkae ngangari, wazungu pia watakuja, mambo ni ile account zao na zetu ni sawa. So by the time you arrive here, half of the seminar is done. Some candidates ambao wanajuana na chairman wanapatiwa nafasi wajitambulishe. But then that happens, you will see the chairman emphasizing huyu ndio vice chairman wa committee who worked very hard, though that's a campaign. We are moving how to do these things subtly, without stuffing a ballot box. Did you have also a primaries kama hii parties? I can tell you, after being Secretary General for 3 years, nobody wins a party primary. If you have won, just know your party has allowed you to win. So trust me. I can take that to the bank. If I ever write a book, that's one of my experiences. Usijoka hati unaonesha certificate. Party leader amekubali wewe uchukue hiyo. Kama haikubali, unakaa kama umenyeshewa. Unaenda hapo unasema in the interest, kama Msaimo, in the interest of inclusivity. Sema alijua inclusivity wapi. Aliambiwa usipotoa nomination in the parties, if you're not in the good books. But I mean, it's just that I'm a Democrat kidogo. New generation. Mtu ananitukana, we SG tutakuonyesha. And I'm thinking, now should I withdraw that certificate? Because you can just start a disciplinary committee meeting kwamba you caused violence during the party nominations, and we take it before you realize. So I can tell you, we need to structure. That's why we have a very big movement under the leadership of Kabogo. Inaitwa independence. Wana independent, wako huru from what? Some parties are really don't know how to deal with this whole army. It's bigger than any party put together. Wako 4,000, sijui 5,000. Yesterday we had an aspirants meeting, a candidates meeting by ABC. So I told my colleagues who went to represent me to take the roll call of those who are there. There are more independents than there are people from parties, particularly the mainstream parties in Mombasa, which is Wiper, ODM, and Jubilee. So we have even a greater litany of candidates outside those three parties who have become independent. Kila mtu in Kenya. In Kenya, you don't lose an election. In fact, I was telling a friend who lost in an ODM poll, I told him actually it's much easier to say umeibiwa ndani ya ODM. In fact, ODM, and I believe some of you ODM members here, you go into an ODM poll, okay, shajua mambo ni mabaya, 2 days earlier, say, I know of a plot to rig me out. And the day you get rigged out, sema siliniwambia, tukutane kwa debe tarehe 8, niko paka mwisho. And then you say you've consulted the people. You've not even consulted your own wife. Yeah, and it's very important sometimes to consult for real. Before I go to the gist, I was told of this issue. Some of you here who are campaigning, I was told of this when I went to my first political training. I was told there's this candidate who had now been declared victorious. Sindio? He had lost, the other one had lost by 1 vote. So, akawa sasa anatoa ile victory speech or acceptance speech. Mama, thank you people for electing me. It was a race well fought. I want to congratulate my adversaries, etc., etc. And I'm going to have water to your houses. I'm going to have this and job creation. So this husband tells the wife, that is exactly my policy. And then the threshold of social and political transformation, a fact that requires concerted efforts by citizenry, politicians, and the business community, professionals to bequeath to the country and the generations yet unborn the real promises and aspirations of our founding fathers. Today, Kenya's economy is at a crossroad, a fact that has been fueled by a multiplicity of factors, including the ongoing implementation of the 2010 Constitution, rapid urbanization, increased literacy, growing and expanding of small and medium enterprises, SMEs, access to and innovative use of digital and wireless technology, economic liberalization, and capital development projects. New discoveries of oil and other natural resources that eventually lead to foreign and direct investment in Kenya. Foreign direct investment in Kenya. Another important aspect worth mentioning here is the devolution process, which is transforming lives in hinterlands and hamlets that hitherto were uninspiring and backwards in all forms and aspects. But today, through devolution, these backwater areas are being transformed into beacons of hope and economic progress. The realities present Kenya's accounting profession with an opportunity to contribute positively to her development agenda. As you all know, professional services play an important role in the functioning of Kenyan economy and are among the fastest growing service sectors in the country. Indeed, 2 score years after the establishment of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, the membership has now grown to over 20 members. In this regard, accountant professionals must realize that their services are expected to contribute directly and indirectly to socio-economic and political growth, including lowering transactions costs and creating knowledge spillovers to other industries. And this is very important. You see, most of you here, when you get a contract from government, the bill you give them sometimes is very filthy. I wonder what services, for instance, some top-notch lawyers, when they get a brief from government, I've seen it in county governments, lawyers billing the county 50 million, 100 million. I think these are some of the things we must tamper with. It's always easier to steal from public, but it's also important to exercise that morality that goes with your professional calling. Accountancy profession is critical for accountability and good corporate governance. The demand for accountancy services is expected to increase significantly in Kenya, especially now that the county governments are managing huge amounts of public-generated funds. I am in support of ICPAK, call to the county governments to engage the qualified and registered accountants to manage their resources. This, I believe, is a step in the right direction, given the assurance it brings in the knowledge that such professionals operate within a regulated environment, and hence they are empowered to exercise their professional judgment accordingly. After half a century since her independence, Kenya is still grappling with a myriad of challenges ranging from corruption, tribalism, nepotism, cronyism, and maladministration. These vices continue to haunt the soul and persona of our country unabated. These factors have reduced our potential into smithereens. Despite our huge potential, Kenya accounts for less percentage of world trade. Never mind the fact that Kenya has the highest export product concentration in form of agriculture and mineral resources. This is reflective of our continued reliance on primary exports, mainly to the European Union, USA, and Asia. The country is also experiencing high cost of goods and services, a fact that works against our local manufacturers. Ultimately, this leads to low competitiveness and encourages importation of goods from Asia at the detriment of our local and nascent industries. Yeah, this, I think some of you here must leverage public policy, because how is it possible to manufacture something in China or anywhere else in the world, and by the time it comes to Kenya, it is cheaper than that one that has been manufactured in Kenya? So how then are you able to get the local manufacturers to compete in this type of an environment? So I think we need to either do something about zero rating raw materials, plus a myriad of other incentives that we may give to our local industry, including increasing the taxes on important goods. This, therefore, what I just talked about, creates unemployment and despondency among our youth. There is also the issue of food insecurity that is the very fabric of our communities, for which a lasting solution needs to be found. This is one of the very few countries at some point where it was cheaper to eat cake than to eat ugali. You remember about that Queen Victoria, when people were demonstrating about the increase of the price of bread, and she said, let them eat cake. In Kenya, it was cheaper to eat cake. So I saw in the social media all these issues, how Kenyans were caricaturing the fact that you sleep with your ugali, maize flour, with your panga, warding off your enemies and your neighbors, and things of that nature. But the one I found very hilarious was the one after this maize came, I don't know, from Mexico or wherever. Yeah? But the fact that ati mtu akaeka ile sufuria that ile maize inaiva kama popcorn, imemwagika mpaka nje. So that it had spilled all over. Yeah. As much as we have light moments about some of the challenges, it is very important to ensure that our people are healthy and there is food security in the country. Additionally, the analysis of professional services in Kenya has been hampered by the lack of information on demand and supply, including data on market solutions and professional services. Skills mismatches at technician and skilled professional levels are serious issues that warrant ICPAK's intervention. It is high time that the Institute devises means and ways of identifying and regulating accountant technicians working in both public and private sectors, and include them within ICPAK's spheres of influence. It will be prudent when all those practicing accounting services, whether at technical or professional levels, are brought under one institutional regulatory framework. There are numerous reports that there are jobless accountants despite high demand for qualified accountants in Kenya and beyond. To address this challenge, the Institute and CASTEB should work together to create links between education system, labor market, and consumers of accounting services. Let us not be oblivious to the fact that other countries have a share of their problems too. However, they normally emphasize on their positives and give a wide berth to their problems. It is now time for us professionals to help dispel myths and stereotypes about our country. Yeah, by the way, that's what we want to tell you. We come from a very good country, despite our challenges. We might not every Sunday close our streets to clean it. You know, in Kigali, you have to go through something like called community work every Sunday on Afagia. The day you try that in Kenya, you will be gone in the next ballot. Tuambiwa Kenya wakiamka asubuhi, ati mnatoka na tracksuit, hakuna kwenda na magari, alafu mwanze kufagia. You know, I went with one senator, and she was saying, no, it was marveling at that system. I said, Kenyans, anybody who is able to manage Kenyans is a direct, act of God. Mm-hmm. Because, can you imagine, you look at yourself, uambiwe Jumapili uvae tracksuit, alafu mufagie, alafu mukakae kwa village chief, umweleze shida zenu ili apeleke juu. A Kenyan. I'm proud to be one, but there are certain things we might not be able to do for now. But we look at those things. We marvel at the cleanliness of Kampala. I mean, Kigali. Kampala is not clean. Of Kigali. And the way, the discipline in Rwanda. I can tell you, next time we decide to have an international conference, for those of you who have not visited Rwanda, I think it would be nice to pay that country a visit. The way it is organized, it is disciplined. Every Kenyan who lands there, imekaa kama Europe. It just requires firm leadership and a commitment to public service, and to punish those and take responsibility for those who do not deliver. It's as simple as that. It might not necessarily require us every Sunday to clean our streets. Once every month, isn't it? It might not require us to do all that. Now they've started another also Sunday for sports. Yeah, they've started, you must now do sports every Sunday. I think one Sunday a month also. Some Kenyans are laughing. I'm telling you, we are going to pay our taxes, make sure the county cleans our streets. You don't clean it, we vote you out the next election. Yeah, our traffic doesn't move, we look for a solution for it. But I can tell you the discipline there is amazing. So I really appreciate that you can share some of your experiences here. And for them, they punish their public servants. They have a lot of public servants who are in jail for crimes of corruption. Okay, also political crimes. As we don't have political prisoners anymore. Anybody who tries to run against Kagame, here we are a free society. Utaenda tu. But what we need to do, there's a lady also who wanted to run, 35-year-old, before she realized her naked photos all over the internet. You saw that? Yeah, so, but in Kenya, at least our expression is a little more. If you cannot take the opposition leader and put him in a, like what you do to BCJ, put him under house arrest, or to do a couple of things. So in that, you need to learn from us. As we learn how to clean our streets, there are a few things also you need to learn from us. And that is the strength of our democracy. So that's why I'm saying, I'm also a brand ambassador of Kenya. When I go there, I say, despite our challenges, we have a bit of it. We have ethnicity in there, we are dealing with it. We have a couple of things, we are dealing with them. But also we have great things beyond the wild. People think the great thing is just the runners in the wild. I mean, we have a cohesive society. We've withered our challenges. We have a democracy. You can go out there and shout against anybody. Trust me, and you'll go nowhere. In fact, if you go anywhere, that's political mileage. In fact, you must make sure you get arrested. And then as you are getting arrested, say, the struggle continues. And then we will bring you a Orengo to get you out of there. As you are leaving, you say, you make a bad statement about Bado Mapambano, and the struggle continues, and I will seek your votes. so that type of thing. So you have to also give us that. Of all the countries in the region, I'm not saying we are there yet. We're not a perfect democracy, but I can tell you, you can do caricatures about Uhuru Kenyatta, do caricatures on Raila Odinga, do caricatures on Kalonzo Musyoka. Most of the guy in the Standard is very unfair to Kalonzo. He always puts him with a tail. Gadovan, I'm the Secretary General. If I draw you, so they always have even that. So it's very diverse. Our media, the more you say a story should not be covered, that's when it will be covered. Some of them are lies though, but the bulk is actually credible. You cover lies. We have independent media. They are all here. They can take what they want and they can go publish what they want. The people try to intrude with those media freedoms. People get agitated. Uhuru Kenyatta anasema gazeti ni ya kufungia nyama because he's irritated. Then he starts giving away people for free kufungia nyama. So, but it is nonetheless, it is a free society. You can get as anxious as you want, as angry as you want, but there are limitations. There are boundaries you cannot cross as per the law. You attack me, I go to court, I get an order. I can file civil suits. I can even decide right now I want to run for president, and there's nothing that will happen to you. Definitely you will lose if you decide that. But you will lose in the ballot. So you don't have pictures of me circulating everywhere. So we need to be also ambassadors. Our friends need to, one of our biggest export to our neighbors is a free society. Yeah, we are a fair society, trust me. When you go to these countries, some of them, you even feel the atmosphere is dense. Unataka kuongea kitu unaambiwa hapo huko Kenya bro, utawekwa ndani. So unasema sawa, unaenda kidogo and then you leave. Ask Joy Doreen Bira. She went and posted something when she was in Uganda, even though she's Ugandan. She spent her honeymoon in custody. But so these are some of the things we celebrate about Kenya. Trust me, we have our challenges, but also our strength. And then we love one another outside Kenya. Kenyans are a very cohesive society. We are hated by every other country. Communities. Have you ever gone out of the country? Kenyans are disliked by everybody. Because Kenyans wako na uzungu. Wao hawana urafiki ule ujinga. Wanatafuta yule ambaye atawafanya rais. It is new, we are from one country, one people, black people, no. Black people, yes, utakuja kwa hiyo cultural evening, lakini utatafuta yule mtu atakupeleka mbele. Kenyans are very, I'm happy about that. Trust me. You don't, yes, a few of us commit a few crimes here and there, frauds at credit card, but they make friendship that is of value. Jamaa Mkenya na kupeleka kwa marafiki zake akwambia huyu ndio mkubwa wa Siemens, huyu ndio mkubwa wa nini, huyu ndio mkubwa, hakuna ati nimekupeleka huyu best yangu kutoka Nigeria. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo, there's no time. But if you invite him for an African thing, he goes. And most Kenyans are very productive out there. Obama, kaoa nani, kapata president, tuko na Senate Australia, nini, sisi hapa mchezo. Yeah, seriously. Do you think those things are not strength? Umesikia wangapi kutoka, I'm not saying go baya. Have you had a president of certain blood, a big president of America, a senator huku, na kila mtu siku hizi, in fact every Kenyan who loses an election lately here is going to run elsewhere. It is easier to be elected there. Mambo ile senator aje kusimama hapa aone. Atatoka siku ya pili. The policy sijui nini. Here you shout your party leader's name. Policy. Somehow you will die for his cause. That is God sent, and our community is almost there. Kukura hiyo. Ati sijui nitakuletea good government na nini. You think the Kenyan is looking for that? Maybe the professionals, the accountants are, the lawyers are, because most of us these days are the objective voters. But we are so few. So few. Quite a thing. Sasa nyinyi kura 2,000. Ndapeleka nyinyi wapi? Ati stronghold yake ni accountants wewe. Kura 2,000. Unataka wewe nyumbani, huko watu wanapiga, unasema wewe na baba na wewe umeona huyo ni mtu. And you do those semantics. Don't take what politicians say very seriously. They are not actually addressing you, they're addressing the gallery ya nyumbani. Most of the times when these politicians speak, I'm giving you what is called experiential knowledge. Don't get irritated. Anaongea nini? He was not talking to you. Alikuwa anaongea mko nyumbani. Kusema kwamba hiyo mioto utakayoona, ukiona wao, then people think this is the guy. This is the guy. Then Kaiseri comes, usiseme 10 million. Na sisi tutasema sasa wamebabaika. Then wengine wanaleta 45 million strong. But those things are for the gallery of the mass of those certain voters. They are not for your consumption. So when you hear Moses Kuria, sijui some of na Mudhama nani, they're actually addressing the gallery ya nyumbani. So if you don't think it is telling you, so look at how Moses Kuria was re-elected easy. If he was trying to impress you accountants, you think he would have been elected? If you're quite retiree, you give me enough to understand this. So half the time, when you look at these politicians, that's why some of you need to come in, so that you reflect these values in public and in private. Otherwise, then we'll have a society that everybody is calling their own kind of thing. So there is a strength in this country. We are anxious about the elections, but we will still emerge from the elections and move on as a country. But other countries, there are no elections in the region. I mean, even if you are told they were elected, what are called our constitutional safeguards for a free and fair election were not there. The candidates were not allowed to campaign. The state media was only giving one coverage. Hata leo KBC ianze from item number 1 to item number 30. Uhuru Kenyatta for 30 minutes, who cares? People are watching the other busy houses. Who watches KBC? Sorry about this, I can see you. I watch. There was a time, seriously, I was watching KBC. That time when these independent media houses had gotten off air, you remember? So I was watching KBC. And I realized huwa wako na advertisement moja ya yule jamaa ya yule mitishamba. Umeona? It's a very long advert. It is usually on KBC. I saw it, ile mitishamba, ile herbals or something. You remember those of you who were watching it at that time? So I watch KBC. These people are the ones who don't. So you can imagine Kenya Times closed shop. The people watch independent media in Kenya. 90% of you watch independent media. If you are watching KBC, and again, no offense because I pay for it, with taxation. If you are watching KBC, know that you don't receive any other signal in that area. Usually, that's the case. But I do watch KBC every day, and I value their contribution. This guy from Nini is laughing from Citizen. I also watch Nico Live Citizen on Mabado. And these days, every media house transmits you live. Yeah, they have this program called Extra, or sijui morning what. So ukiongea kitu kidogo, unajiona live, and things like that. Which I think is, I'm telling you, we're having an evolving society here. We deal with 2 challenges. 2, we're done. Corruption and ethnicity. And we'll deal with that, I'm sure. Myself, I'm very confident. We will be a first world. Hapa utakuja Kenya and we'll be done. So you can become the new face of Kenya by being patriotic, optimistic, and engaged and actively working to transform and shape its future. Let us not forget that we are a new generation of Kenyan leaders. There are endless possibilities of how we can make an impact in Kenya and beyond. As accountants, that's you now, we can help bring reforms into the country. We are the vanguards of fostering positive changes and reforms in Kenya through our deep connections throughout counties and personal relationship with individuals, business leaders, and officials in respective arms of the government. We should not ignore the power of technology and social networking, which can strengthen the connections with other like-minded professionals who want to bring needed reforms to accelerate reforms in our country. Additionally, professionals and their firms should not shy away from obtaining government jobs. We should bring management skills and expertise to the 2 levels of government and help transform the sector by improving transparency, accountability, and service delivery to create a conducive environment for development and progress to thrive and flourish. If continuous efforts to tackle corruption, bad government, and mismanagement are successful in Kenya, the country will take its rightful place in the community of nations. Let me conclude with my remarks by echoing the words of Jana Kachola, who said, professionalism shouldn't be defined by a person's paycheck, role, or title. It should be defined by a person's work ethics. And finally, before I declare that this annual conference officially opened, it is true that it is an election year. Most of you here are seated very comfortably because you're possibly not running for an election, because these are now 76 days. it's too late for you now to be a candidate. I do not know in Kenya why professionals, middle class, do not engage in politics. And then you complain about all types of things. In the comfort of your sitting rooms, you are angry about everyone and everything and do nothing about it. Your politics extends and ends in your living room. Huyu mbaya sana, huyu corrupt, huyu. That's your opinion to your family. Outside there, you just go into your car in the morning and get into the struggles of life to pay your mortgage and your car loan. Do nothing absolutely. I talked to so many professional groups this time, trying to interest them to take a few seats. I'll be very honest, part of the network we have built as Wiper Party, I'm not trying to advocate for Wiper, I'm just telling you part of my contribution, was to try and interest a few professionals. In Mombasa we have a litany of people seeking office who are fairly professional. Abu will tell you, I've seen Shabir will tell you. You look at our group, at least you find there's a lawyer here, there's a USIU graduate there, there's somebody from Yale there. You go to here to Kwale County, Kilifi County, we have a professor, a lawyer who wants to be governor, a lawyer. I'm not saying it's the only Red can sit here for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours and listen to people. It comes on the basis that you sat in a class. If you sat nowhere, you can't sit for 3 hours and listen to anybody or anything. So I think your anger for whatever it is, for your county governor, for your national government, whatever else that you have, or even your love for it, must be based on a certain aspiration. So all of you here, I have my family members. They only participate in politics because, I look at them like, you owe me. You know, family members owe one another, in quotes. The fact that you have to pretend you're working so hard for your brother or your sister or for something, that's what comes with family. Some is pretend, some is real. So people, but outside that, professionals are literally lethargic. And yet, when I become governor, I have to appoint 10 professionals to manage the county because 10 CCs. And when sometimes you go to people, they tell you, mambo ya siasa mimi mstaki. But you need to break those barriers and those misconceptions. You have voted, I said this in your last meeting here, you have voted some guy as an MCA because whenever there's a fire, he helps you to put it off. Arinon. So people get elected as MCAs are the guys who, whenever there's a problem, they're helping. There's a guy who's died. He cries louder than the bereaved. He helps carry the corpse. He organizes the pickup for transfer. And then at the point when you're putting sand into he's doing most of those things, So you say, mashallah, kijana huyu msaidizi sana. Your house is flooded, he's with your bucket, spraying out water. So you think this is the guy you need to make MCA. Nothing technical about him. Goes to the county, he's made the chairman of the finance committee. Then FCPA Fernandez Barasa goes to make a presentation to the guy. The guy listens and he doesn't understand what Barasa is saying. Sema hiyo wajinga wasomi hao wanajifanya wanajua. That's what is going on in his mind. And you in your heart you are like, who mjinga huyu? How did he get there? And then you wonder. So then when FCPA Barasa has left, he has not nothing has been understood. And this guy thinks that is an elite who knows nothing about politics. And then your counties are managed like villages. Then they take one young professional, because with the kind of money to employ some of the professionals in counties, what Sarah Serem has done, you can't get a very good professional in a county. When you see yourself, I have no offense with those working in a county. If you're working in a county, there are two things. You finally landed yourself a job after 20 years of hunting, or you're actually sacrificing for your nation. So one of those two. You could be working because you really want to sacrifice for that county. Or ultimately, after looking for a job for 8 years, now finally, the county has looked for this 8-year experience. They actually don't know where you are for those 8 years. You actually heard hunting, but you say, this year to this year, consultant. It's your first job. So because now also you don't have gravity, you misadvise the county, because so first you have the guy who's helping you with your funerals, who's the chairman of the finance committee, and then you have a young, almost inexperienced accountant who's now helping the county, and then FCPAs and CPAs of 20 years standing are making presentations, and they think they are normal. Sometimes you look at who you are presenting to. Sometimes you could be abnormal. You could be presenting to somebody who has no idea what you're presenting, and you walk out there and you think, I'm the chairman of ICPAK, I'm a very clever guy. But you're not normal because you presented to people who have no idea what you're saying. So please, take some of these roles seriously. Take the leadership. MCs earn 300,000, trust me on that one. So it's a good job. You're qualified, or most of you. Can you imagine an MC, a county assembly, finance chairperson is a CPA, finance committee, the chairperson of the legal committee is a lawyer. I'm voting for the professionals, because unfortunately this is how things run. Whether out there people will say we're elitist, we're also all the sons and daughters of Mama Mboga. So we know that the aspirations of Mama Mbogas. We all here, most of us, majority of Kenyans, come from poor families. Ukimwona amefika hapo, it's probably the first one in his family to arrive there. So when somebody tells you don't know what a Mama Mboga thinks about, what do you mean? My mothers and fathers were hawkers. They paid our school fees through blood and sweat. We know their aspirations. And they are lucky that one of their kids now is an MCA or a governor or a senator or something. You can't call people elite just because they were able to break out of a certain social matrix. And that's why I'm urging you guys to try and take some of these government roles very seriously, so that you can improve the quality of our government and our nation. God bless you, and have a fruitful conference.
Let's appreciate again the Senator of Mombasa. We can do better than that. Thank you. We really appreciate you coming and gracing this particular occasion. For us to be able to appreciate, we have a memento for you. Last Tom. Last is from Keswe. This is our platinum sponsor for this year, to be able to give a memento to our chief guests. Senator is complaining, and we can assure you that is less than 30,000 shillings, so you did not need to declare it as a public servant. Senator Umar is saying that when it's more than 20,000, he has to hand it over to Senate. But I assure you that we have our auditors here. There are many auditors here. They'll confirm that it's less than 20,000 shillings.
1999.
So we'll open up the session for 10 minutes question and answers. And if you have any questions to our council and our senator from Mombasa, this is the time, and we request that the person on the mics will take 5 questions, they respond, and then we close off the session. You have one question?
Yes, my name is C.P. Osborne. My question is to Senator Hassan Omar. I wanted to hear your opinion on the issue of the kind of parliament we need to look forward to after the next general election. We've heard of tyranny of numbers. We've also heard 10 million strong coming from one arm of the political divide. Would it be fair to say that a hung parliament
My question goes to the Honorable Senator. And basically, I am happy that you are really struggling to become a governor of this city. Now, before you are graduating from senatorship to gubernatorial, now during your time as a senator, you have been seeing things happening in Mombasa, bad of them of course. But my question is quite direct. War to Kibarani, and I hope you stay across. War was passed through Kibarani to Jangabo to your house. Now, literally, you be one of them, and the governors and those that were elected. You are killing the population that God gave us at Kibarani. You are doing this intentionally because you want to take down land. What is your position in this?
The last question.
My question to Senator is that I have not Mombasa for the last 10 years. So when I came here, I went to Mombasa town. I was surprised, Senator. The roads are very bad. Mombasa is a gateway to Kenya. All the money that is found in Kenya is mined in Mombasa. Senator, have you ever seen those roads for the 4 years you have been a senator? And what have you done? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll ask the senator to
Dirty tricks. My question is, instead of taking the masses through fake primaries, why can't you just select candidates and publish their names? And say that these are our people, because so painful that in some primaries people are counting votes and somebody is already announcing results, that the results have been declared, and then the news people say that's the official result. So instead of taking us through this circus as the Secretary General of WIPA, why can't you just be publishing the names and say these are the diehards of the party and these are the people we want to work with? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll ask Senator Omar to respond to the questions.
Thank you. Some of them will be a matter of opinion because they cannot be necessarily policy statements. About my opinion about a hung parliament, I believe any parliament that is largely demonstrated, largely controlled by one party is dangerous for any democracy. I wouldn't even want a NASA government to have the kind of parliament that they have today with respect to Jubilee. Because these are oversight mechanisms. And most politicians have won on the basis of their loyalty to the party leader. And most parties are organized around some ethnic arrangement and mechanics. So the nature of survival is such that you must continue to play fairly close to these dynamics of politics. So, I think, and then also the quality of individuals. If you look at the times when Kiraitu Murungi, Kibaki, Raila, Orengo were in the opposition against Moi, there were few, but the impact was major. So you have to also look at the motivation. These days we have very many young people, some incapable of surviving in the opposition. So when you come in, your parents sponsoring parties in the opposition, the next thing you're doing is you're looking for how to get to the government side. Because you want a contract, you want a deal, you want to do this, you want to do business. Because you're not necessarily there because these parties are arranged or organized around ideologies. So, for me, I come from a county here, Mombasa County. God willing, even if I were to win the Mombasa governorship, my prayer is that not all the 30 MCAs come from Wiper. This was the only country in the country that all the 30 MCAs elected were from one party, ODM. It defeats the whole essence of why these assemblies are oversight mechanisms. It is the only assembly that one party dominates each and every position in the country. And therefore then it fails in its oversight mandate, because also most county assembly members cannot match up the gravitas and the capacity of a governor. Most governors are billionaires, wealthy before politics and wealthier in politics. And these people are, the Kenyan political climate is so perverse. Everybody is inviting you for Harambee, asking you to take up some personal issue here and there. So because you finally find it having to refer back to the governor for one or two things, so that you can see through yourself the political demands. So I don't think any assembly is good enough when it is heavily dominated by one axis. So it is desirable for Uhuru Kenyatta to have it, but it is counterproductive in my view to the Kenyan public. One of the reasons why I believe the Senate was systematically undermined was because what separated Jubilee and CORD in the Senate was only 3 votes. Jubilee had only a 3-vote advantage in the Senate over CORD. And 3 of these votes came from Gideon post-coalition arrangements after the election. You get the point? 4 actually. They came after. But even if the government wanted anything, Kiraitu Murungi, Yusuf Haji, and some of those senior politicians had to be persuaded before they voted for something. So persuading them was much harder. So when you bring a bill there, it is processed. And if it is not a good bill, it is rejected.